everyone.
Good
Um,
morning.
yeah, I'm Amy Hahn, and I am joined. This is Gardening Tips Live. Got to figure out what we're doing here. And I am joined by my friends and fellow master gardeners. Oh, I'm a Knox County Master Gardener, if I didn't make that clear. Let's see. And I am joined by my friends and fellow master gardeners, Lee Cheek and Brian Townsend. And we're here to talk gardening, and it's a beautiful day. We're having some beautiful gardening days. Let me do the stuff to get this um, where you all can find it on Facebook. It is a little bit harder than it used to be, and I have got to find myself. Okay, there we go. Now I'll be able to see it and share it in the group, so that you all can find it. And if you're watching live, please click into the video. You got to spell that right. Video to see, to comment, and see resources we post. Um, if you're actually watching this later, click into the description of the video. We try to get those um, listed as quickly as we can with all the resources that we post during the show. Lee actually does some editing on those to make them useful. And I'm going to find the post in the group and pin it to the top of featured, because that makes things a lot easier for everyone to find it. And I'm also going to do an at everyone to help you see this. If you do want to watch our shows on YouTube, you can subscribe to our channel and you'll get a notification when they're posted. We are trying to get them posted within a few days of the shows. Um, but there's just been some change in policy on Facebook. So we're realizing we need to move our um, videos over to YouTube. And so, that makes it just an alternate way you can watch us. And that helps everyone, I think. I hope. Oh, I need to pin it to the top of featured. And then we are ready to go. I actually got out in the garden yesterday and worked on weeding my asparagus bed. With the rain we've been having this week, it's actually put up some really nice new spears and is looking really nice. But it, as some of you might already know, it has a case of bindweed that's been going on for several years. And I'm going to try some suggestions on how to make it help it be more compatible for the asparagus and less compatible for the bindweed. And I'll let you know what happens with that experiment as it goes on. But it is an experiment, it is not a tested thing. But the bindweed is a major problem. And we will probably talk about that more late as we go through the show today. Let me take a sip of something. So one of the first things that's always news for a gardener, let me go ahead and share the slideshow I've got, is the weather. So
Whether or not what?
yeah, whether or not to get outside.
Oh, please.
It's going to be a good week for getting outside. We're having cool nights and warm days. The only thing I do find with that is it is some of the fungal diseases we have do better with the cool nights and warm days than when we have hotter days, you know.
Yeah.
So go ahead,
I,
Brian.
I tried to, um, I spoke about that last night on a raw compost right there.
Mhm.
What you're talking about is too far and wide, extensive, to try to do a serious, article on that right there. So basically what I did was just addressing, bacterial and fungal problems right there, and then how to, uh, search for this, for information on how to, address it. Uh, so but that was the extent of what I did.
Yeah. One of the folks that I've worked with has a rose garden that she's battled some different problems with it. And black spot is always a problem with roses.
Yeah.
And we're really seeing a major difference between different varieties.
Yep.
She has this variety of rose that she loves the flowers on it, but it seems to be very susceptible to black spot.
Yep.
And so um, it's a small plant right now because it's replacing another one of the same variety that died, and every leaf is nearly totally black on that with black spot. And so I was talking to her about, even as much as you love this particular variety, it might be time to give up on it.
Well, is she doing any spray maintenance on that for controlling black spot? Because that right there needs to be preventative.
Right. Yeah, I think, well, one of the things is she's got roses around it
Ah,
that have almost no spots on them.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah,
And so, and she doesn't like to use sprays unless they're absolutely necessary. And so we are talking about giving up on that variety
yeah. Hmm.
because it sounds like that's the best bet.
Yes,
Yeah. So sometimes you can avoid a lot of diseases by getting, if you know you have a disease problem, like black spot, just about anyone who grows roses is going to have some of it. But some roses are very resistant and some roses are very susceptible.
yes,
And if you go with the resistant ones, you won't have no problems, but you're going to have way fewer problems.
right.
It's like here with apple and pear trees. You want to get an apple or a pear that is fire blight resistant because it is a disease that is really common here. And so you'll save yourself a lot of problems. So, one of the things you can do when you're looking at plants is you can look up common problems for that plant and then look for varieties that are resistant.
Yeah,
And so that'll you with help make your gardening easier and more fun.
right.
Now, I will admit, as far as tomatoes, I don't always stick to the ones that have good disease resistance because there are some tomatoes I love the flavor of, and I am happy if I get 4 or 5 off of a plant in a year of that variety because I love the flavor, but they're not the only tomatoes I grow. I also grow some that are very disease resistant. And so, I grow a combination. Okay, next thing. Okay, many of you have heard, if you've been watching us for a while, you know I planted my peas way later than I should have and was wondering if I'd even get to taste them. They're flowering. They've got a couple flowers. So I might actually get to taste this. It's, what is it? Giant sugar melting pea. It's a variety I've never had before. And I wanted to see if I wanted to grow it next year. So I was hoping I'd get at least to taste it. And so if you've ever grown peas before, it's a few days from flower to actually an edible pea. pea pod, and these are edible pod peas. So I am hoping to get to taste this. I'll take a picture if I get a pod that I can taste. Okay, and this is garlic. I always grow a good selection of garlic. Garlic you generally plant in November, and at my house, I'm usually harvesting the very end of May or beginning of June, and it looks like it's on track for that. But this year I planted really late, and I think you can tell I haven't kept it weeded well, and I actually didn't get it fertilized. So my garlic is doing something they tend to do about 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks before harvest time, which is the hardneck garlic make what's called scapes, which is their flower head or seed head. So this, where it's lighter green and there's a thicker part. Let me see. I know there's a couple easier to see ones in here. Wrong picture. But my garlic is starting to make scapes, even though, oh, that one you can see better. Okay. You see this thing coming out here with the point that's lighter green? That is a scape coming out. It comes out from the center. And I'll let it grow. It'll start to curl. And when it does like a full curl, that's about when I try to harvest them. But since I didn't fertilize and I didn't keep it weeded well and I planted late, my garlic is very small. I'm going back and forth between pictures. But I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's really thin. Usually the stalks are bigger than my thumb, and this year they're not. Now, don't get confused by this. This is actually Egyptian walking onions, and they do a cluster of small onions on the top. It's called a top set. And as those get bigger, it'll actually bend the stalk down, and if you leave it, it'll plant itself a little bit away from the mother plant. I use those as dividers. I plant a lot of different varieties of garlic close together. And so I use the Egyptian walking onions as a marker where my different varieties are so I don't get them mixed up. So that's doing its thing. And this is another allium and just some other things that are going on. These are a perennial leek, and they're about to make their flowers. And I actually pretty much have them growing here more for their flowers than for harvesting them. They do big round pink flowers that are just beautiful. And so they've got their flower stalks coming up. And at this point, I'm definitely not harvesting them at all. But other things that are going on, I have some escaped apple mint. Um, we usually recommend that we do recommend that people plant their mint in a container because it will take over an area if it escapes. And you can see it's doing a good job of doing that. Um, Apple mint is one of the mints that it does make a really good tea, and you can harvest a lot of it at once and put it in a container and pour boiling water over it and have a really nice mint tea. So that's, what is it? I didn't intend for it to escape, but it did, and so I'm going to use it. And then when I harvest my mint, I can also harvest some of this other plant that it didn't come in as a plant, it came in from seed. This is bee balm, not bee balm, lemon balm. And it has a real lemony flavor. So you can see it's got really sort of almost crinkly leaves. And when you crush it, it smells like lemon. And also adds lemon to tea.
Yes, Amy, it's lovely in tea.
It is. And so the mint and the lemon balm make a really nice tea together. Another thing that's going on here is I had a volunteer cilantro, and it's going to seed. And if your cilantro is going to seed right now, it's not because you've done anything wrong. You have probably actually done things just fine. Cilantro is a cool season herb, and when the temperatures get up to like 80 degrees, it'll start to go to seed. and that is just what cilantro does. Um, I always get really sad for people who buy a cilantro that's already starting to go to seed. But if you do buy one, you want a very, very compact plant and plant it in a place where it gets a lot of shade and keep it well watered. And you might be able to keep it going. It's usually easier to start it from seed. And I know the books say a lot of books say start it every week, every couple weeks. So you'll have a continuous harvest. Um, in my conditions at my house, um, East Tennessee has a lot of different microclimates. And so your success at this might be different than mine. Um, I haven't been able to get that to work. But I have talked to people in the Knoxville area that have gotten it to work. So, you know, get a package of, I would suggest getting slow bolt cilantro seed if you want to try this, and planting a little bit every couple weeks and see what happens. And keep it well watered, and you might be able to keep cilantro going a lot longer than I can. But every gardener has a slightly different conditions and a different level of management. Okay. We're seeing a lot of tomato plants. A lot of people have planted them. And so these are tomato plants I started about a month ago. And so they're already a good size. They're ready to go out. And you can see there's no flowers on them. If you look closely, you will see there are no flowers on them. And that is really where you want your tomatoes to be when you plant them. So many people, their first few tomatoes end up with blossom end rot. And I can't prove this, but I suspect that any tomato flowers you have on your plant when you plant it, blossom rot, end rot has to do with the plant transferring a nutrient up to its forming tomato. And when it doesn't have much of a root system, it can't do that. And so I really recommend, if your tomato has flowers on it when you plant it, take them off. Let your plant concentrate on doing roots for the first couple weeks that it's in, and then it'll start doing flowers. And you very well might avoid having blossom end rot on that first set of fruit it produces. And I think Brian wants to say something because he's acting like he's trying to unmute himself. Brian, did you want to say something on that? Okay, I guess not. Okay, Lee, this is yours.
It is. This is my yellow squash seedlings coming up,
Oh, nice.
starting to get some true leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, are you going to leave all of those?
No, I'm gonna actually share some with my my neighbor.
Okay, so how many are you going to thin that?
I'm gonna take out about half.
Okay, so you're going to leave 3 or 4?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's pretty common, when you plant squash, that to plant more seed and leave the strongest, 3 or 4, depending on how big your mound is.
Yep. And also, I didn't think they'd all come up.
Right.
It
Yeah.
was seeds that I was given, and I wasn't sure
Mm-hmm.
their fertility.
Right. Yeah, I'm a seed swap person. So I go to seed swaps and I get seeds, and or people give you seeds and you never know how it's been cared for before you get it. And so you don't know if it's going to come up, and if it does, how much of it's going to come up. So yes, I have definitely done what you did.
But it's so
Okay.
hard to thin. It's so hard to thin them when they come up.
It is.
It is very hard. It's like it's a living plant. I don't want to
I
kill it.
know,
Yeah,
but you
so
need to.
yeah.
Yeah.
My neighbor said he'd take some.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So dig the hole where you're going to tell him to dig the hole where he's going to put it before you dig them up. Because,
Right.
if you water them well in your garden
Mm-hmm.
and get a good scoop of soil and take it with it so you don't disturb the roots.
They got watered really well last night.
Yes, things did. Okay. This is my fig bush that I was not sure it had made it through the winter. And you can actually see the fig. See, that's a fig leaf. So I am excited. It has made it through the winter. I need to cut off all the dead branches. And you can see what I've got underneath it. I've got some violets that make a nice ground cover under it in the front. And this is Korean bellflower in the back. It's got its flower stalks, but most of the year it's really just a pretty flat ground cover. And so I don't have a lot of weeds among my figs. I do have some, as you can see. Um, what is it? This is my blueberries. I need to do a soil test. I'm noticing some yellowing of leaves. Now, oftentimes new leaves are a little bit on the yellow pink side, but I'm seeing more of that than I want to, than I think is just normal plant growth. So I think this is a year for me to do a soil test in my blueberry area. It is an area that I've had to add sulfur to increase the acidity of it. Blueberries really have to have acidic soil to do well. Okay, this is as plants are coming up, it's really good to know your weeds. Now, to some people, all of these seedlings here are weeds, but to me, let me tell you what they are. This one with the more rounded leaves is morning glory. And I have a variety in my yard called Grandpa Ott's, which is just a beautiful dark purple with a pink throat, um, morning glory. And I think it's just beautiful. And I'm not going to let all these grow. I actually might not let any of these grow just because of where they are. But this other thing with the more spiky leaves is called bindweed, which is an aggressive perennial plant in the morning glory family. And I do not want any of those to grow. So I will aggressively weed those out. But if you do have plants, so it's important to know what the seed leaves, these are the seed leaves. They are the first leaves that come up. Both of these plants have leaves that are heart-shaped. The morning glory is a more rounded heart, and then the bindweed is a more stretched out heart. But so I am going to take out definitely all the bindweed. I might leave some morning glory. But it's important to get to know what the seeds look like. I know I will have some volunteer holy basil in my garden, and I will leave some of that through the year. Okay, this is another weed that's really common in our area. This is curly dock, and right now it's flowering. And this plant does a deep tap root, and usually they're vertical. The rain knocked this down. You can see this one is a little more vertical. But at this stage, if you don't have the time or energy to get out with the shovel and dig it out, cut the seed head off. Cut the flower off. And then you won't have it seeding. So you can prevent that by cutting the flower head off. And then later you can come back and pop the plant out. I do recommend a long shovel to do that. A good transplant shovel, because a small plant will have a foot deep root. A large plant can go down as deep as 3 feet, and it's a tap root like a carrot. So that's curly dock or yellow dock. This is a plant I'm not sure what it is. So when you're trying to identify a plant, if it has a flower, oh, there's the flower bud on this one. I thought I didn't have it in the picture. It's not very conspicuous. So there's a flower bud here. And I am going to leave that and hopefully it'll develop where I can take a picture and figure out what this plant is unless someone else here knows. And if it's something I don't want, I will take it out. And if it's something I would want to keep, I'll keep it. Also, it has some pretty distinctive leaves here. So I'm hoping to get an identification on it. I'll try doing a Google Lens search and possibly some other online searches, and I'll let you know next week what I find out. This is a clematis called Happy Returns, and it's just finally blooming beautiful this year. Lee, that one's yours.
It is. It's one of my. It's a bee balm, Menard Menardo family. It's actually wild bee balm, wild bergamot,
Nice.
and yeah, phlox, native phlox. This grows to
Mhm.
be 2 to 4 feet tall. And this is lance leaf coreopsis, a nice native. And this week I saw a whole field of it up at Collier Preserve.
Oh, that's nice.
It was very nice, yeah. And then this is spiderwort, which not only shows you the spiderwort, but the hole that the little snail is making
Yeah,
on spiderwort. Yeah.
right. And if you see holes like this in your leaves or your flowers, that oftentimes is slugs, but you usually don't see the slug. That's really unusual.
I got out there earlier this morning. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then this is uh, purple tansy, uh, Felicia tansia flora,
Nice.
which
How
is a nice
tall is
name.
it?
Oh, it's above my hip, so
Oh, nice.
it's about 3 feet tall.
Mhm.
And I went out this morning to take a picture of it, and because of the rain, several branches had broken off that I
Mhm.
brought inside and made a little flower arrangement of.
Oh, pretty. Yeah, that's a nice plant. Oh, this one's mine. Um, this is the flowers on my silky dogwood. It is a more of a tree shrub. It depends how you prune it. You can prune it to look more like a small tree. It does tend to put up sucker branches from the base, but it's going really pretty. And this is something I was really excited to see. It was next to my, near where I have the silky dogwood, and it's not a great picture, but this is Arkansas Blue Star Insomnia, and it's a native plant, and I actually thought I had completely lost it. So I need to weed out the Jerusalem artichoke and anything else that's around it. There's some, I think that's goldenrod. Um, so I need to weed those things out around it and give it some space, and hopefully it will continue. But I was really happy to see it. It was still there. Okay, this is a native rose called a Carolina rose, and it's a small flowering one. Um, so this is the flower. It's got lots of buds. It only blooms once in the year. And then I was able to catch a picture. I had a syrphid fly, which some people call bees, but it's really a fly. It's only got 2 wings, and it's got big eyes. And they're a wonderful beneficial insect. They're great pollinators. They're also called hoverflies. So you'll see them go into the flower and then they'll come out and they'll just hover. Um, but their larvae are look like little green blobs and um, or little green worm things, and they eat aphids, and they eat lots of aphids. And the female syrphid fly will find a plant that has aphids, and lay as she'll lay a limited number of eggs on the plant, but it's related to how many aphids are there to feed her babies. And so I think that's really cool. Their eggs are little tiny, they look like little tiny white, um, like a long pill shape. And so if you ever see those on a plant that has aphids on it, um, leave it alone. Let the syrphid fly larva catch and do its thing, and it'll take care of your aphids pretty quickly. Okay, found another beneficial. This is an egg case of a Carolina praying mantis. And so they lay theirs on wood usually. Either I've had them lay it on wooden fence railings, but also on trunks of trees. And one time I found one, I've seen them on brick walls, so they like rough things, or an old wheelbarrow tire. One of them laid it on. So these are the Carolina ones. We do have another praying mantis in our area that's been introduced, the Asian Chinese mantis, and their egg cases, their Uthika, or starts with OO. Um, they lay theirs on twigs, and the twig will be here, and their egg case is like just a clump around that. And so they look very different. But they're both beneficial insects. They will eat any insect they can catch. So they might eat some pest insects, and they might also eat some insects that you want. But on the whole, they are beneficial. Okay, these are just some small mushrooms that I found. Mushrooms are really interesting to look at. You can even touch them. You can handle them. Just don't consider eating them without getting a positive ID from someone who's a mushroom expert. There are some very toxic mushrooms in our area, and they look similar to some edible mushrooms. So just make sure, you can look at them, you can handle them, but get a positive ID from someone who knows their stuff before you consider eating them. And that really goes for any plant in your landscape. You really do want to know what it is before you eat it. Because some of them, particularly the mushrooms, there are some of them that have toxins that are very hard to survive. Okay, we've been following these, that's mourning dove chicks, and this week, the mother was finally leaving them alone, and as of yesterday, they have flown their nest. So they decided to do their nest in this little 5-inch pot. And I need to go out and take a picture of the nest before I reclaim the pot. But mourning doves don't do much of a nest. But that was pretty funny that it decided to nest there. And we have seen the mother with one of the chicks at least. Okay, we were cleaning up a pile of wood chips that had been there longer than it should have. And this is just a large, I think it's a Hercules beetle or rhinoceros beetle. This is a female. So it's a little bit harder to tell with the female. The Hercules beetle, the male has like two, um, they look like claws coming out from the side of its head. And then the rhinoceros beetle more has a single thing coming out. So they're a little bit different shape. But this thing's about 2 inches long. And so it was really cool to see that. They also found some snake eggs that had hatched. And we do have some beneficial snakes. We've seen corn snakes and black snakes in our yard. And those are both beneficial. and the snakes do not want to be close to you. They want to be out doing their thing, and if they are aware that you're coming, they'll go the other direction. So I know they're there in our yard, but I have only seen, we've lived here 14 years, and I've seen one, two, three, I think I've seen four snakes 4 times in the 14 years that we've lived here. And so, you know, don't worry. The best thing to do is just leave them alone, and they will help control rodent populations in your yard.
And make plenty of noise when you go outside.
Yeah, make noise, stomp around a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. One I found was picking up a piece of cardboard that had been there for a long time, you know. And so the snake was just hiding out there, and I disturbed its hiding place where it was sleeping. Um, this is a kind of a crab spider, and so he is just interested in getting insects. And so he'll do his thing. We found him while we were doing some cleanup, and he wanted to go the other direction. Um, I have a big trough of water. I think you all have seen pictures of it through the years. And so yesterday we found these are frog eggs that had pretty recently been laid. I'm a little bit sad because with all the rain that we had last night, the trough overflowed and only a few of the eggs are still there. So I hope they'll come back and lay more. Our neighbor has a pond that has at least some frogs in it because I heard them croaking this morning. And then Lee, this is yours.
Yes, I found some tiger. I was up hiking in Elkmont, and these are tiger swallowtails that are puddling. They like to so they find like an animal will pee or something along that lines, and they will all try to get into this little puddle and get the minerals.
Hmm. They're
And
so pretty.
we found a couple of different instances of puddling while we were out hiking, and there were butterflies flying everywhere. And this was along the Little River trail at Elkmont.
Oh, nice.
Uh-huh.
I've noticed, where I live, I feel like I'm not seeing as many butterflies as I used to. And it makes me sad.
There were probably thousands of these tiger.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
That is cool.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think that is the end of our slideshow for today. And what is it? It is a beautiful day to get out there. It's going to get a little warm. Um, so be sure and have plenty of water because water is a very good thing to have when it's warm. Um, when it's not super hot, it is almost easier to get dehydrated outside than when it is really hot.
Mm-hmm.
So, really keep an eye on the water and make sure you have plenty and stay hydrated. And let me look at the calendar. We haven't looked at this is the Tennessee Home Fruit and Veggie calendar. And we also have the lawn maintenance calendar. And you can get to those online. What is it? We put together a folder and it's, let me double check on what the address is. I think it's bit.ly /UT calendars. And that'll take you to a folder that has both of those calendars. I'm just double checking. .ly /UT calendars. And if you get a page that says preview your destination and it's UT calendars folder, you can get to that. And it does have both calendars in it. So let me put that in here.
Oh, I just did. Well, I did one of the calendars.
Right. And this folder will have um, both calendars. And then if you want to look at last year's calendars, because every month there's a topic um, that's gone into in a little more depth. And so this month, the main topic is novel fruits for Tennessee. And so it goes into depth about trying pawpaw trees. Okay, so for this week, we are at the 17th. It says, when you see diseases or insects, note them record them at the end of the calendar. If you have one of these calendars, and I know Brian has some, and you can get it as the one online is actually a PDF that you can print, but you can do this on any calendar you have, but make a note of when you see a pest or a disease problem and where you're seeing it, and then that'll help you know what to do. Um, if you just see it once and then the next time you go back, you don't see that pest. I've had that happen with aphids, definitely, where I've seen some on a plant and the next time I go back, they're gone. Something ate them because all the beneficial insects eat aphids. Um, okay, so other things they've suggested this week is check weeds. So weeds, with everything growing, weeds are coming on strong. They do suggest putting up netting over your blueberries to protect the birds from stealing it. Um, be careful that you don't have openings where the birds can get in and get trapped, because that can be an uncomfortable situation for you and for the bird. Um, sweet potatoes. Um, so I think we are actually warm enough to do sweet potatoes now. They are one of the crops that really likes hot weather, along with okra. Okay, and it says continue succession planting of corn and beans. So those are the things for this past week. And then it says harvest strawberries often. I actually think with as warm as this spring has been, um, most of the local strawberries are done. Does
Yeah.
anyone else know any? Lee, do you know anything?
Well, okay, at the UT Gardens, we've been harvesting strawberries and
Oh,
sending
good.
to the food pantries. And one of the things you have to watch out with strawberries is that if there is old fruit, that you
Mm-hmm.
get rid of it, because then you can get diseases and
Right,
things along that line from the molding fruit. And with all
right.
the rain, that's been a little bit of a problem. But the
Mm-hmm.
strawberries are still producing.
Oh, good, good. I
Uh,
wasn't sure.
and there's a place selling strawberries out at it's on North Peters Road.
Okay,
They're
yeah, and there's another one on Highway 11 in Lenore City.
and
Uh,
also I've seen them at the farmers market.
yes.
Yeah.
So there's a few places that are selling strawberries. Um, some
Yeah.
of them are actually from the Carolinas, not
Mhm.
local, but they're pretty close to here.
Yeah. Yeah. They are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just had my little alpine strawberries and they're done for now. And so I'm going to divide them up and I'll have more next year. But I'm glad I rescued a couple plants and put them in the big container I've got them in.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are things okay, so one of the things that is talking about let me look at the lawn maintenance calendar. Is there anything to do right now in it? And we're in May, and the lawn maintenance calendar is a little different. It doesn't have things to do for every day. It just has the things to do for every month. Okay, so if you are doing a pre-emergent, it says if you use a pre-emergent, they said you should apply um, your second treatment of the year 6 to 8 weeks after the first. And then I know last year Brian talked about the not mowing more than a third of the plant height down, of the grass height. I don't think we need to talk about irrigation this week because everyone's lawn is getting
Not from last night.
a good deal of water.
I got over 2 inches. How
Yeah,
about you?
I think we got a couple inches because
Yeah.
that the trough wouldn't have overflowed if it had been less. Oh well, I'll get over losing those eggs, the frog eggs. We'll see if they come and lay more because those were just laid within the past couple days. So we'll see what happens. I hope they come and do more. But it really is, as far as your summer crops, this is a great time to plant them. One thing I will let you know is if you are planting squash, yellow squash, planting zucchini in particular, we have a pest for zucchini and some of the other squashes that is called a squash vine borer. The larva bore into the plant, so it's hard to get with a pesticide, even if you are using one. And one of the ways of preventing, there's a couple ways of preventing squash vine borer damage, but one that I know is very effective is to cover your plants with insect netting until they start flowering. And then you have two options once they start flowering. You can either totally uncover them and let the bees pollinate them. Squash have to be pollinated to set fruit, for the fruit to grow. But you can also, they're very easy to hand pollinate. So you can open them up in the morning and hand pollinate the female fruit. When it gets closer to that, we'll go through what that looks like. And you can avoid the squash vine borer damage. If you do totally open it up, they will probably find your plant and get it eventually, but you shouldn't end up with the situation where I've experienced this many times and talked to folks who have, where their plant is finally has little baby fruit on it, and then they go out one day before the fruit is done, and squash fruit ripen very quick, grow very quickly. But they'll go out, they'll maybe have harvested one zucchini, and they'll go out the next day, and their plant has gone from being like this to that overnight. And they look at the base, and a vine borer has eaten the center of the stalk out. And sometimes you can go in and you can actually kill that little caterpillar in there. But most of the time, it's done so much damage, your plant's not going to recover. So squash vine borers are one of the big pests of squash and lead to a lot of disappointment. So just to warn you, not to say don't plant squash, don't plant zucchini, but if you do, you might want to consider getting some netting to put over it. Okay, we got about 10 more minutes. Does anyone out there have any questions? Because I can see there's a couple people who are watching us. Brian, do you have anything today? You're muted, so you might want to unmute.
There's been so many things going on here. You guys have addressed the most of it right there. I was it not last night, but the night before. I did on the Welcome Post. I did an article on fireflies.
Oh yeah,
including a lengthy photo set. I got a lot of good responses out of that right there. A big part of it was some things that we don't know about, or most of us don't know about fireflies. They're cannibalistic. They're
well, some of them are.
Well, yeah, it depends on how hungry they are.
Yeah, well, it depends on the species too. Some
Right.
species
Yes. Yes. Yes.
very much are. Yeah.
And we've got the it's been in the news for several weeks now. The lottery for watching the synchronized fireflies up in the Smokies. They're going to be starting
At Elkmont.
registration.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing to know is firefly larvae go through the winter in what is it? Leaves, under leaves. Oh, April, it's good to see you with us. Yes, she's talking about leave the leaves. Yes.
Leaf mold and upper inch or so of soil as it's loose. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, I'm sort of scanning the group a little bit, and I really love this meme that someone posted, and what is it? David posted. It's a picture that says one of them's captioned beginning gardener after a plant dies.
Oh yeah.
Looks like, "Woo." And then experienced gardener after a plant dies. He's just, working with his other plants, and um yeah, very sad. Anyway, what's
Yep.
next? And that is what is it? I've definitely heard that the best gardeners have killed the most plants.
Yes.
And I think there is a lot of truth to that.
Well, something I share with folks back home in South Texas, we had an unwritten rule that to become a master gardener, you had to at least killed 1,000 plants. And I've had quite a few people say they're overqualified.
Well, especially if you're a vegetable gardener. Vegetable gardeners do have an advantage on folks that do ornamental gardening, because vegetable gardeners pretty much kill every plant we start.
Well, there's also most of them are annuals too.
Right, we kill them. Oh, April says she's overqualified. I understand.
Yep.
Yeah. And at this point, probably even if you counted the ones I didn't intentionally kill, I probably am over that 1,000 mark of the ones I have unintentionally killed. Oh, the squirrels kill them. Yeah, squirrels will dig up things and really make a mess.
Oh,
Are you talking about me again?
No,
No,
my
those
peaches.
little fuzzy things with tails.
Yeah, the squirrels will take one bite out of my peaches.
That's my chin.
Oh. Oh.
I need a haircut too.
Oh, me too. But, everyone's got different, what is it? Different ideas on that one.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. Oh, well, I'm looking forward to getting out to the farmer's market. I know.
You were talking about our weather coming up right here.
Yes.
We've got some more severe weather coming up. I'm thinking tomorrow, the weather has changed so much from day to day, it's hard to keep track of it right there. But the extended forecast, or the National Weather Service with their hazardous weather outlook, was talking about, I think, Wednesday or something like that, severe weather that we need to keep an eye on. So I would admonish everybody from one day to the next to keep an eye on the weather stuff and be prepared. I don't think there's any catastrophe like we're seeing up further north and the Midwest and stuff like that right there. But we can have some nasty enough weather to interrupt your day rather severely.
Yes.
So stay on top of that and stay safe.
Yeah, it looks like we definitely have thunderstorms coming in. What is it? Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, and
Something
Friday
like that,
morning. I mean, Monday afternoon, Tuesday, and Wednesday morning. They've sort of shifted a little, it looks like.
Yeah.
So it must be moving faster than they expected. They're not predicting a lot of rain from that storm, but they do have the lightning bolt on it,
Right.
which
Yeah,
means,
last night I woke up to bright light and thundering crashes,
oh gosh, we
at the
slept
same
through it.
time. Yeah.
But it might have, I'm in Lenore City, and so it might have actually missed us. Because you're up more North Knoxville, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I woke up at one, or I was in bed trying to go to sleep right here when thunder, nasty thunder, and this is without any hearing aids.
Oh
I
God.
heard this. I heard this loud and clear. So I checked the radar on my phone, and
Uh,
sure enough, there it was.
yep, it must have been really close to you.
Yep, it was.
Yeah.
I have one of my weather apps. I've got lightning radar,
Hmm.
and it was showing several spots, really almost on top of me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was a little concerned about my plants that I had outside. Now, I did have them in a sheltered spot, but I was concerned that sometimes tomato plants can sort of get blown sideways if
Yep.
there's heavy wind. But they actually did fine. But I don't think I got the worst of it
No,
here.
no,
So they're predicting about an inch of rain for the whole storm front going through. So,
for
Monday night through Wednesday
okay.
morning is the current prediction. Predictions do change. Oh, good. April said her baby plants were fine too. Good to hear that. I
Yeah.
don't like it when baby plants get hurt.
Oh, and the weather changes right there, so that's uh,
Mhm.
it's kind of funky that we need to check it on a regular basis. But once we get into summer, things tend to settle down.
Yeah.
Um, but right now, if you're planning on doing seeds, um,
Mm.
or slips or anything else right here, check the weather, make sure we're going to be okay for the next day or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Susan said she's planting tomatoes and peppers in containers. Um, one of the things is, unless you're planting more of a miniature tomato, make sure you've got your container is big enough.
Yes.
Most
Yes. Yes.
tomato plants really do much better if they're in at least a 10-gallon pot. Now, there are some miniature patio tomatoes available that can take smaller containers. And I don't
And
know if that's what you
don't
have.
use those pots that they're sold in.
Yeah, move them out of the pots that they're sold in because
Yeah.
they pretty much always need something larger than that to
Right.
produce. Yeah, but she's happy with tiny, tiny tomatoes. So I'm thinking she might mean some of the little patio tomatoes. And those are really cute. And you'll get a few fruit and sometimes if you have limited space or limited ability, as I'm realizing I'm 20 some years into this gardening adventure, and I've realized my ability is not what it was 20 years ago.
It's why I'm
And
putting up native pollinator garden
Hmm.
out, is so that it'll take care of itself.
yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep,
And, when I can no longer take care of it.
right. Yeah, I'm consolidating things so they're less spread out. And I had some plans to do some interesting stuff in certain areas that just never happened. And I'm realizing at this point they're never gonna happen. So, like, I
Yep.
had a patch of Egyptian walking onions, out where there was nothing else planted, but I had had plans of planting stuff. And I'm realizing I'm not going to do that. And so I moved them down. Okay, April, we're running out of time, but we can answer April's question real quick before we go. Is it okay to prune my rose bush right now, or should I wait until fall? I
Uh,
finished cut the dead stuff out last year.
right.
Okay.
I would go in and prune out the disease, that's a dead dying disease, and then from there prune out anything that's twiggy growth that is intersecting each other. Um, really honestly, you can light prune all year long, except when we're getting into late fall, early winter, because
Mhm.
pruning stimulates new growth. Now, this time of year, this is what we want,
Right.
but you can prune roses most all the growing season.
But aren't you sort of pruning them a little bit when you cut flowers?
Yeah, it is,
Yeah.
but that stimulates even more.
Mhm.
And if we can watch where the bud eye is on a leaflet right there, we can plan on properly pruning where the bush is growing in an upward and outward fashion,
Okay.
and
I have
that
one
will.
question relating to April's question. Okay.
Okay.
So you'll have a stem and you'll have some dead on it. And if the dead stops here, do you just prune there or do you go back a little further into live
I
oak?
would go to a leaf node and cut right above that.
Okay, and so you'll have like you have knuckles, there's like
Right.
nodes and little buds will be
Right.
you can have buds,
Eh,
there'll be little buds coming out
right. Yes.
on
Yes.
each leaf node.
Right.
You'll
And
cut it back to the next live leaf node.
right.
Okay.
And those are leaf nodes with that bud right there. If you can find one that's pointing away from the center of the rose bush, you're actually encouraging it to go up and outward, which is what we want. So that saves time.
Okay. Yeah. So that's good to know. And what is it? It is after 10 o'clock. So I think we are going to call our show done. And it's been great being with you, April and Susan. Thanks for asking your questions so that we could answer them during the show. And we will be back next week to talk more about gardening. So happy gardening, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
It's not, it's switching to a different thing and not letting me hit the button I want to.